Hey everybody, it's Master Galageist here, bringing you my review for the anime Sword Art Online, and this is a weird one. I didn't completely hate it, but I still had problems with it. Now, when I'm talking about it, I'm talking about I watched it on Netflix, so it's like called Season 1, but there's like two parts to it, and you can clearly see the divide. If you're into anime exploring, kind of like video games and virtual reality kind of stuff, I would recommend watching the first 12 episodes, because it does an interesting job of doing that. Granted, some of its issues get in its way, but it's better in the first 12 episodes, where in the latter half, it just kind of goes crazy almost, and doesn't truly understand the concepts that it was trying to explore in the beginning. Because in the beginning, it's pretty interesting. We see Kirito go in, like, oh cool, this virtual reality MMO, this is going to be pretty cool, and then everybody realizes it's trapped kind of Hunger Games style, and that if you die in the game, you die in real life. But that's when issues start coming into play, because, oh, it sounds like an interesting concept, but then once you start exploring how gamers would kind of react to this, and since this is kind of trying to be kind of more of a realistic kind of take on it, granted with kind of bigger kind of circumstances, the VR headset evidently has the ability to microwave your brain. And I kind of have issue with the fact that someone wouldn't have bought at least two of these things and broken down one of them to see the parts and be like, hey, there's like a microwave thing in here that would fry your brain if done a certain way. So that's kind of like, what? Also, all of the servers and everything that would be needed to sustain this world would be astronomical. It'd be great, but seeing everything that would need to be done and how well the world works, and that there's like a couple thousand people trapped in here. Now granted, I don't have experience with a lot of MMOs, more with like MMO-like kind of things, but in my experiences, there are certain groups of hardcore MMO people that would have found cheeses and like grinding exploits and would have been out of this thing before 2 years. They would have like broke the unholy shit out of this thing, and there would have been no recourse. That would have been a more interesting concept if it went with the full kind of like, this is a horrible situation, but did more kind of like comedy humor wise. I mean, it was interesting going into the psychological aspects of being trapped in there for 2 years and pretty much living your life in a game, seeing also like younger children, as they showed, kind of like in an orphanage style place, because they were scared of what was going on. They didn't want to die. It's like, Jesus. But that stuff isn't really delved on more. It's more kind of like trying to show how badass and awesome Kirito is. That's the kind of issue at the crux. I mean, he's not a horrible character. It's just the consistency and overall tone of like doing it and like going through the story isn't really there. Because he starts off as kind of like an asshole beta player who's like, I could do this shit on my own, and then essentially does this shit on his own. I mean, yeah, he grows to want to like help people and everything, but it's like you're kind of proving him right, and then becomes an unrealistic badass doing all this stuff. Which, granted, once you start delving into it, it gets kind of even weirder, more MMO aspect wise, in that there aren't like any of the regular archetypes. He's just able to go and do tank, DPS, and heal pretty much on himself. He once got to a point where he pretty much was able to heal damage on himself faster than people were dealing damage. Just, holy shit. But it was like feeding into, yeah, he went and grinded out this shit. Granted, there would be problems for the rest of the people to do that, but if you find a good grinding spot and you're pretty much good and out, you could pretty much get into this group to like help other people and just get everybody out, because I don't care if I'm usually a solo player. I don't want to let other people be trapped in here and die for a stupid video game because some dude's like, I'm doing this for reasons. The creator's reasons aren't even truly explored. And we can find out that he was supposed to be the boss at the end game, which he's like, leading all these people to try and take himself out. It's like, why? And that concept of end games being kind of screwed over also goes into the second half. And it's just like, an end game portion for a game is a big thing, and it needed to be better developed, and it just didn't really give much other than like, oh, we gotta get to the top level to get out. It's like, okay, so why are we dealing with this kind of weird stuff? Because it gets to a point where it gets really formulaic, and that Kirito Solo finds someone who latches the shit onto him. I'm talking like full-blown obsession kind of shit. He like builds up this harem of people who, granted, he acts nice, but it's like, why? They build him up to be this like dude who's just like their pinnacle pedestal kind of stuff, and it's like almost like every girl he encounters, almost everyone, like, loves him, and it's like, and he doesn't be mean to him or anything, and he's not doing anything to truly encourage that kind of stuff, except with Asuna, which he actually has feelings for, and actually has an interesting dynamic in that they're done okay, until you start introducing the whole, like, AI program that wants to be their child. That gets kind of weird. It's like, why is this in here? I know you're trying to show stuff of like living out real life and all that, and there's the blurring of reality, virtual reality, but it's like, okay, where's this going? And then it completely almost like throws it out because they have the AI program pretty much get deleted, but then Kirito performs some kind of like uber hacking magic. I'm saying it's magic because in all actuality, if he had the ability and competency to perform the act that he did, he could have shut that thing down with no problem. Okay? It's just like, if you have the ability to save the core of an artificial intelligence from deletion by a system that can maintain a virtual reality world and do it within the span of, he didn't even have a full minute to be able to do it. Okay? You're God. You've essentially created a God character in a place that's supposed to be grounded, at least in certain reality aspects, because we haven't been shown that, like, people can, like, magically, mystically understand technology, thought processes like that. Though it's never truly explained if that kind of stuff could do with the VR, but granted, I'm just going on the assumptions that it's like regular people in VR world trapped in a video game rules. Okay. That doesn't mean it's not been shown that he's Neo from the Matrix and just fucking knows kung fu. It's like, what? How does this? No, that doesn't make sense. If he could do this, he could have just stopped the whole thing without even having to get anybody else killed. He could have just pretty much gotten to the code of everything, stopped the microwaving, and jacked everybody out. That just kind of like was like, what? And it was just like, that kind of is where it kind of went like, what? And then watching the rest of it just kind of like kept going. I'm like, okay, we got the fight with the creator in the video game. He actually fights him and killed Asuna and killed Kirito, but he had like the will or whatnot to survive. And I don't mind the heroes and main characters living. It's just, when it's pulled out of nowhere, when you're trying to, and it doesn't fit with what we've been presented so far, that's usually when I have an issue with it. Granted, I don't want to go the complete Martin route and just have everybody be killed willy-nilly and be like, oh, you like this dude? Bam. I happen to be in the happy medium where if it's a good death, I'm alright with it, But if like shenanigans happen and it's like it doesn't fit with what is presented in the world, that's when I kind of have an issue with it. And that's just like, okay. And surprisingly, I just like the first 12 episodes. It at least had enough competency to go through and deliver at least some portions of the VR experience. Seeing people like going through, forming guilds, getting attached to people. It really kind of played to some of the stuff that I've been doing on online games and like some people and friendships that I had acquired over the years. It's like, okay. Then you start getting into these weird things. It's like, okay, the kid thing, like what? And okay, I see the end game. Okay, crashes. Alright, I would have been okay there. Then we get to the second half, and it completely, the video game's used as a gimmick now. Because in the beginning, it's actually kind of like being explored. Now, it is an obstacle to pretty much be overcome and not really done anything with, and it is just used to, like, I would term even just conflate the Kirito legend, essentially. And just really does things that make no sense to further the plot. And also, I think, are detrimental to certain characters. Like, Asuna and 300 people are not jacked out of Sword Art Online when it is shut down because Kirito had won and beat the creator and all that. And that included Asuna, and then Kirito is able to try and figure out that somebody took a picture in Alfheim Online, which is a VR MMO that had taken over for Sword Art. And so he pretty much goes in and tries to bum rush through the thing, and it's like, all this kind of weird stuff is made up. And it's not even fully explored. It's like, okay, all these races of, like, fairies with wings and all that stuff, different attributes. You're told this information, but yet it means nothing because it's just another obstacle for Kirito to overcome in order to save Asuna, who had interesting characterization and development and became a strong character in the first half, was relegated to the role of an object. I wouldn't even say damsel in distress or anything because it was even more basic than that. She was more used as an object for Kirito to go and get because his girlfriend, family with the little AI program which carried over, and even an object for the villain who is over the top, really no depth to him whatsoever, is mustache twirling to the extreme, who wants to marry Asuna and has like pretty much rape scenes almost. I mean, he doesn't rape her, but it's like really sexual assault kind of stuff, but it's like not even well done. It's like, oh, I'll have my way with you, and it's just like, okay, that sucks because I don't want Asuna's character to be like that, but they don't even let Asuna fight back in any way. They kind of mute her almost to a degree, I would term it, in that she barely does anything. She does try to escape at one point and finds the room of like the 300 people and everything. And then one of the weirdest things occur. Okay, so everybody's got their avatar and they look people-like. The people that are looking over the 300 people that are trapped inside, because this corporation is also playing with people's brainwaves and emotions, their avatars are not people-like. They are squishy squid thingies. And I can only assume that this was done for tentacle porn references. And it was just like, why? It's like, it would be more trouble than it's worth to try and give someone visual cue data for a body that is not similar to the one that they have. Wings would be difficult enough to try and get people to fly and everything, as Kirito is taught by his sister cousin. I say sister cousin, who, by the way, is in love with him as well, which just adds to the harem and the complete, like, why? It adds nothing to the plot. It's just like, okay. I say sister cousin because they're raised siblings, but they're actually cousins, and it's like, you're just confusing people now, okay? Teaching him how to use the wings and all of that, and it's like, okay, that would be confusing. Imagine how trying to input sensory data into another person for a body type that is completely alien and foreign to them. It's like, why? Why? And it's just a great disservice to Asuna to be. She is stronger than that. She would be able to fight this dude in more effective ways. Granted, he controls the bounds of the world, which, by the way, he's pretty much made an endgame thing that nobody could beat, which goes back to my whole thing with gamers in that they would grind the shit out of it, they would cheese the shit out of it, and they would get to the end and figure out that it is pretty much impossible to win. Never mind people like going into the code and everything, and the game would be shut down before any of this crap would happen. And it's just like, what the hell? It went from something that kind of had a grounded realism to just, alright, we are gonna throw whatever we want at the board and see what sticks. And it's like, that really doesn't work. It just really just took everything that I kind of at least liked in the first half and just was like, what am I watching right now? How does this help the characters evolve or get better or any kind of story? This is just mainly a kind of mess trying to do almost playing with your action figures at this point, and you want the lead Kirito to do all this awesome stuff even though it makes no sense to why it was happening. Not to mention that you're screwing over other characters around and taking away their characterization for no reason. I was just like, so I would pretty much recommend, if you are interested in looking into a VR MMO anime kind of setup, to watch just the first 12 episodes. I wouldn't say it was I think that there's positives and negatives, but I enjoyed the positives more than having the negatives take me out of it. That, of course, completely changed once I got into the second half, which I would not recommend watching whatsoever. Just pretty much get to the end of episode 12, be like, that is the end for me, and then make up your own thing, because it gets completely just, what after that? Ugh. So, those are my opinions on Sword Art Online. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.